Hi, welcome to EASL Studio and from ILC 2022. And as you know, ILC 2022 is now coming to a close. So we are broadcasting again and still from London together with me, Vice Secretary Aleksander Krag. So hi Aleksander.
Hi Thomas.
How are things after many days?
Great. I just recall that 5 days ago we were also sitting here open. I think the show was probably a little bit higher. Now I think we are relaxed, looking really back on some amazing days. And I recall I asked you there what you were looking most forward to. And as the perfect host, you were most considered with all the guests, how they fared. And I really think there we can look back on some amazing days and we see all the feedback we have and all the activity on the social media that people have really enjoyed it. It's, you know, just like at home, you make a party, you're busy, but the real pleasure is really to see all your guests really enjoying and getting all what they're coming from.
Yeah,
so
right, Aleksander. And you know, I mentioned in the opening that we were really uncertain how a first face-to-face physical meeting will run after nearly 3 years where we not have met in person. So I think, and do you agree, that it's a kind of a litmus test what happened here, and I think we can really look more confident into the future that EASL is alive, the whole community is alive, we stay together and we hopefully have a very bright future, right?
Surely, and also that there's a lot of things we can do digitally. There's a lot of things we can do online, but nothing can really substitute for getting together, discussions. And I see all the things, all the discussions that happened between the sessions, and all these sessions where there were far more questions than were really time to discuss it. This really tells me that there's such a need for this.
You might be perhaps interested also in some statistics and what is new also from the General Assembly of all the members. So I'm quite happy to share with you the latest numbers we have. So we really reached 7,000 delegates. That is nearly as many as we had in 2019, where we had 8,400 before the pandemic. We reached out to 114 countries, and we had the best gender balance ever with 50 to 50. How did we do that?
No, I think this is amazing. That's exactly what we want to. We want really this convention, the EASL Governing Board, the EASL office to really reflect the community. So this is really beautiful when we can achieve this. But really having it 50-50, that must be kind of a chance.
Yeah. 2020 is a year of the youth, and you see we have so many young investigators, 400 receiving a bursary. We have strong connection to our patient groups with 9 patients group, 9 nurse bursaries, a large number of abstracts being submitted, and 77 healthcare industry partners. We would like to thank here again for their contribution and their commitment. And I think the last numbers are something really for you, Aleksander. What about the social media outreach?
Yeah, I think it's very impressive, and I really like this way of sharing things on Twitter that drives your interest in it. And we all know that when we go home here, it's still available on demand. So if there's really something to say, okay, this was just really a splash, you have to see that, you can go back. But so far, 47 million impressions on Twitter. This is amazing. It also tells us a lot that this activity going on the social media, the online thing, is really a place where people are, and we want a strong position. And again, I think the last point there, it's all one EASL. It's really EASL uniting hepatology. That's really core of what we want to do and achieve. And I think this is a nice symbol of us going in really in being the home of hepatology, uniting hepatology for the, let's say, not just the European, but also the global hepatology community.
Yeah, Aleksander, I couldn't agree more. And we have another line here, and these were 13 studio sessions, and you can watch them on demand. And in all of them, you will get a kind of a summary. You have our key opinion leaders, the most distinguished members of our society, commenting, giving their opinion on what has been shown. And we have very nice industry roundtables. These were during the lunchtime I would like to refer to. But I mentioned the General Assembly. So what is most important coming from the General Assembly of EASL members?
Yeah, I think there were many things, because the key task of the governing board is always to really evolve EASL, the organization. How do we best match the changing things in the society, and now we are post-COVID, all the learnings there. And one core thing with EASL as a member organization is the memberships. So how do we make it very attractive to become EASL members? How do we get what people get really something? And that you do by increasing the member benefits, and then we wanted to reduce the fees, because there was a sense that some groups in different countries may have, let's say, different barriers, economic barriers to enter, and then we say, okay, we lower these barriers because we know that many of the offerings EASL has is really high level content that many across the world can benefit from, and in the end of the day for improving patient care, knowledge, awareness, etc. So I just want to show you how the prices are. So basically we halved the prices for most of the groups of members. So the regular and corresponding members we increased a little bit. That's guys like you and me, and I think we are okay going from 200 to 250 euros, but all the others we either made it for free or halved it. So the trainees and postdoc, that's the next generation of EASL, and we want them to be welcomed in the EASL family, to be a natural part of where they are. And there we said 50 euros a year. And also we have nurses, allied healthcare professional, patients here, but we want to welcome them more. This is really the go-to, and then 25 euros a year. And another thing we learned also with our online presence, which is really strong, and we have tractions from more than 190 countries, 1.2 million views last year on EASL Campus. There is a lot of interest from low and middle income countries, but it's maybe more difficult for them to become EASL members. And we say, okay, we lower the barrier. And then we say 25 euros for low middle income country, and then low income countries, it's completely for free. So we're really proud of going in that direction and making all this high level contents.
Absolutely, Aleksander. I hope this is a very good message for all of our members, and especially those who want to join EASL family. And in addition, and perhaps also for all our more advanced members, if you have medical students or students in the biomedicine area, for students a membership will be free, so that quite early people being interested in liver research, in doing studies, can enter the family.
Yeah, I think that's really beautiful. Yeah.
Well, I think it would be good to give perhaps a couple of impressions in terms of what was presented as presentation, where the field is moving in the different areas. You know, we have our pillars and colors of EASL. So, Aleksander, is there a kind of a summary in a few lines where you think the field is moving forward, what you think is really forward-thinking or was game-changing presentations?
I think there are actually many. So we had a record high abstract submission, 17 abstracts, so we've been through them all. I can't remember them all, but I really think that these are exciting times to be in the field of liver diseases, because there are movements in so many different areas. Let's say we focus a lot of drugs, and I really have to think, I'm really impressed. We see so many new drug candidates, and we see so many new companies, also small companies emerging, many also in rare diseases. Who've guessed now we have 3 active companies in Wilson's disease, rare cholestatic diseases, but also a lot of new in, you will come back to that, and Delta virus, etc. And of course, NAFLD is big, HCC is big, but it's really exciting. There's a lot of new things coming. And behind all that, going into the patient, the whole biomarker field, that was not really active, let's say 10 years ago, but now really having. And a lot of things also about how can AI be used in digital imaging, etc.
Yeah. And what do you think about biomarkers? Was there anything, you know, especially we need these non-histological endpoints, right?
Yeah.
I think this is for me a kind of a major message. And also when you look at some of these data with new drugs in alcohol-related liver disease, but especially also the non-alcohol-associated liver disease, perhaps we are really missing important drugs by having these tough histological endpoints where we're asking after 1 year already for fibrosis regression. Even in patients with cirrhosis, I was really surprised where you really can't expect a huge improvement after such a short period of time, right?
Yeah, no, I agree. At a certain time point, we need to have something that's better, because these endpoints would develop acquired some years back, and it's become more and more clear that they are not really super beneficial for advancing drugs in this field. But I also see really jumps in knowledge. We have a lot that's really in the front line. You have a lot of omics coming in, you can differentiate also by genetics now, and these have become stronger and stronger. But another abstract I also just saw here in the wrap-up session, which I also think is really important, is for instance for the non-invasive test. The EASL guide now proposed is 3-tier testing, starting with FIB4, then elastography and confirmatory patented test, and that was then really validated as a really useful test, because then for diagnosis you can end up with, let's say, 3% that actually needing a biopsy, really where we can reach out to the large populations when we have basically 25-30% of the global population potentially at risk of liver diseases. And then on the other side there, going forward in the drug field, I always still see a lot moving. And I think an interesting thing we also see that now some of these drug developers are starting now to collaborate with biomarker companies and imaging companies, and that clearly tells a story, and also being more interested in awareness and policy.
Yeah. And when you come to the far advanced chronic advanced liver disease, formerly called cirrhosis, but I think it's really interesting that it started also with the concept of ACLF. Now we have seen data that stage 2 ascites or stage 3 ascites may make a difference. We had the data from the PREDICT study that after decompensation you may have different outcomes. I think this really brings us in the new era of classifying chronic advanced liver disease. And I think we are happy to announce that with our sister societies and friends from ISLD, we just decided here that we will go for endpoint conferences related to cirrhosis. So the next year will be really very much important also to show industry partner that we get endpoints, meaningful endpoints also for new drug development study designs.
No, and again, this is really important that we agree globally on which endpoint that two studies are comparable, and these also inviting regulatory agencies in, so we all consider the same endpoints, and this is also a prerequisite or something that really can advance drug development, where we have to admit that in particular in the more advanced diseases, cirrhosis, it's still a challenge to develop drugs.
Yeah. I think another message for me is really viral hepatitis on this ILC.
A lot of exciting things happening here.
And we have the WHO targets for viral hepatitis elimination. But I think what we have seen here globally, it's more or less the same. And in some, especially HPV related, even the morbidity, the mortality increased in terms of hepatocellular carcinoma. But I think on the other hand, the good news is in those countries where measures were implemented to reduce the burden, HPV numbers were going down. There we really have seen an improvement. So it's clear, I think, on the one hand, it works, but on the other hand, we have to do much more. And then there's, of course, this drug development in hepatitis B. Well, still we are not there that we can show high cure numbers, but I think for the first time showing
some new nice data here that really developed.
Yeah, I think, we have seen first 24-week follow-up studies showing that we can achieve a significant low level of HBs antigen. Not so many losses so far, but I think if you already achieve this low threshold, I think that's great news. And of course, we had a phase 3 Delta trial showing for the first time, although we currently cannot say we can cure this disease, but for the first time we can treat it. But
Thomas,
I think
isn't that a breakthrough?
This
really,
is breakthrough.
Delta. We have heard nothing for Delta for.
This is amazing, and I think we will keep in mind ILC 2022 as the ILC
the opening
where
to the Delta
phase
era.
3 Delta area. But I think we have to move forward, and there's new members coming in to our governing board, and perhaps we should introduce them.
Yes. So. In the General Assembly, we had to say goodbye to some esteemed colleagues. That was Manolis Totsakis as the chair of the scientific committee, and Luca Valenti also. And then we have approved 2 new members, and it's a warm welcome to to join the scientific committee, Professor Anna Leo from Italy, and she says, her greeting, I'm excited to work and engage with the hepatology community across Europe. So warm welcome, Anna. And Eric Trepo says also his greeting, I'm very excited to join the EASL Scientific Committee as a physician scientist with a strong interest in all aspects of alcohol-related liver disease and NAFLD. I'm happy to contribute to the pursuit of excellence in this area and more generally in all aspects of clinical practice and research in liver diseases. So
great two members of the scientific committee, and we're very much looking forward to working with you together. And we have a new educational counselor-elect. It's Professor Sven Franke. He will shadow Professor Boyers for 1 year, and then he will become the chair of the educational committee. And I would like to read his greetings. So, the ongoing tremendous evolution in many aspects of the management of patients with liver diseases is fascinating, but poses a challenge to our community in terms of training, education at all levels of the healthcare system. I'm committed to further expanding the leading and innovation role that EASL plays in this regard, including developing a framework of high-quality standardized training criteria for the different levels of education and further encouraging multidisciplinary and multi-stakeholder involvement, starting with the patient input. So thanks, Sven, for your words. Also very much looking forward working together with you. So the next EASL Congress will be in
Vienna.
And it's called the EASL Congress, right?
Yes, EASL Congress. So we changed the name because this is EASL's flagship event. It's organized by EASL, it's run by EASL. So, of course, the brand should be EASL.
So we want to connect remotely to Professor Thomas Reiberger. Professor Thomas Reiberger is not only a member of EASL, he is also the member of the Austrian Association for Gastroenterology and Hepatology, and he's the current head of the hepatology working group within this association. Hi, Thomas. Can you hear us?
Hi, Thomas.
Can you see us?
Hi, Thomas.
Yes.
So,
was listening.
So we really want to say hello to you, and especially as next year the EASL Congress will be in Vienna. Do you want to say something about your experience in ILC?
Totally. First of all, I thank the two of you and also the whole EASL governing board for making such a nice experience. And I think it has been said several times, but it's so important to emphasize that it's so important to get back and return to the face-to-face interactions, shake hands again. This was a very nice experience to re-experience this, and I think especially for the young to medium career level investigators, this was an experience. And some of them never had this because they joined actively the community after 2019. And so you could get their experience and see their energy levels rising. And I think this will be true for a lot of investigators that have visited and attended the ILC 2022. And
Thank
also
you,
for the
consortium here. Being now you're back home, I know, but here in London, but can you just maybe give a few examples of your best takeaways from ILC 2022? Maybe some dates or experiences, something that you really say this was really something memorable.
Yeah, totally. So that there was a lot of them, but I think a very nice session that was chaired by Dr. Schnabel and Dr. Sabo was on the best use of the omics technologies in alcoholic liver disease. Just an example of how these technologies can drive biomarker development and disease mechanisms and understanding of those forward. These antisense nucleotides and small interference RNA in the viral hepatitis field have achieved amazing results. Also bulevirtide in hepatitis delta. And I think the molecular understanding of liver immunology that is especially relevant in HCC, but also in other diseases, in the immune checkpoint inhibitor associated hepatitis. So these were, I think, the highlights of my
So we were just discussing here that this is really exciting times for hepatology, and then the next big touchdown in Vienna. Really looking forward.
So why should people come to Vienna? Thomas, what is special?
There's a lot of good reasons. I would say just come, contribute, and communicate. We are very happy to welcome you next year with all our culture and tradition. We will promise that we will keep all the trains and the underground lines running for you. I hope that the colleagues in Iceland will keep their volcanoes calm, like not to repeat 2015. And so just come, contribute, and take advantages of all the various options that you have through the EASL community to contribute to advancing the field.
Okay, yes, thank you so much. There will be always something, you know. This time we had the strike of the public transport, so but hopefully next year everything
still
will
we
run
managed
smooth.
to had a full house here with all sessions really packed. So when you really have some attractive, then it works. Okay, but I think Thomas, maybe you hang on, but we just want to honor. Many people have been working incredibly hard for this, and I think we are really proud. And you know, the EASL office in Geneva, 35 people working, so this is really their bread and butter. And they're proud, so we want to honor them and invite them all in here. And they will also come and help us in Vienna. So please, all EASL office,
So
all
EASL
those
office
people.
is joining EASL studio at EASL ILC 2022. Yeah. Warm welcome to all of you. Please come in. So it gives us really a pleasure and privilege really to thank you all. I'm not looking in the camera, this is not very polite.
No, but really thank you for amazing work. I know you started most mornings 7 or before 7, and even when we left out to have dinner with our friends, you kept going till late in the evening. So this passion and commitment is really unique and a core reason why this has been so successful. And still having worked so hard, I see you all smiling, enthusiastic, really looking forward to make the event in Vienna another really big splash where we have people coming from all over the world enjoying hepatology together.
Right,
so thank you very much.
All the masterminds of the office under the leadership of Ben Hainsworth.
Well done, guys.
Okay, thank you.
The big advantage of actually being around with people, meeting them in the corridor, you can ask questions and chat.
It's always really a good congress with a really good presentation, and it has been so long time without meet people from other countries. So really important to have discussion, to keep networking, and to develop new projects.
I've been looking forward to this, meeting all my friends from all over and also learning new friends.
We look forward to next year. EASL Congress 2023 in Vienna will continue to grow post-COVID, and we'll get back to the large networking and learning opportunities that we've experienced in the past.
It's a really interesting conference today, so really I'm really having a good time here.
Overall, it's been a really wonderful event.
See you in Vienna.